We have just a quorum. Ms. Winter, did you hear from the remainder of our little group?
I haven't. They haven't let me know that they're not coming or not.
Okay. We'll give it one more minute.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you think they have 5 to start for our regular?
Are you breaking up, Cassie?
How about now?
Better.
Do you think that they assumed that we had a 5 p.m. start?
I let everyone know it was still at 4:30, but I mean, that it could have been.
Still, it's normally our study sessions that were at 4:30, and our regular public meetings were at 5.
Correct. I mean, the emails went out and it said 4:30 on all of them, but I'll double check with them.
Okay. Just a thought. I'm reaching at straws, so.
I just sent them a note. Hope they did not indicate if they would be absent, but we can give them a minute or so.
It's 4:32. Since we have 4 members, I don't want to delay any longer. Excuse me. So the regular, well, let's see. Actually, we adjourned to a special meeting at 4:30 today. So this is a special meeting of the Planning Commission of the City of Lancaster. So we will now come to order at 4:33 p.m. So let's see. Have the roll call, please, Ms. Winter.
Commissioner Cook.
Present.
Commissioner Harvey.
Present.
Commissioner Moore.
Present.
Commissioner Paris, absent. Commissioner Tufts, absent. Vice Chair Smith, absent. And Chairman Bowes.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We were supposed to have an invocator today, Pastor Metters, I believe, but I don't see that he's on.
Yeah,
Right.
I emailed him beforehand, but it doesn't look like he'll be joining us.
Okay. Well, that's all right. So I'll offer an invocation then. So let us pray together. Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of city business. Please guide our hearts and our minds in a spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impact your wisdom upon our activities so that our deliberations may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. I ask this in your name. Amen. All right then. So we have a quorum. So before we move on, there may be email or telephonic communications relative to the agenda today. Ms. Winter, do we have any electronic communications that relative to the agenda today from anyone?
We do not have any emailed comments.
Okay. And any telephonic comments before we move to any items?
At this time, the public phone lines are now open for those wishing to speak on public business from the floor, agendized items. Any callers wanting to comment, please press *6 now. State your name and then wait until you are called upon. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. And it does not appear that we have any callers.
All right, thank you. All right, the only item we have is a non-action item this evening, which is a presentation regarding the Lancaster Health District Master Plan. And Ms. Swain is presenting on that. So if you'd like to proceed, Ms. Swain.
Okay. Chairman Bosa, members of the commission. The Lancaster Health District Master Plan is located in the central portion of the city of Lancaster, approximately 1 mile to the southwest of downtown. The plan area is generally bounded by Avenue J, Avenue K-12, 20th Street West, and 12th Street West. The plan area encompasses approximately 272.4 acres and allows for the build out of the plan area over the next 20 years. Specifically, it allows for the replacement of the existing hospital with a new 700,000 square foot hospital and 12,000 square foot plant facility, a total of 340,800 square feet of acute and subacute care facilities, 480,000 square feet of continuum of care facilities, 600,000 square feet of office buildings, including medical, 242,000 square feet of commercial, a 180-room hotel and associated conference center, and an 1,100 square foot parking garage. As part of the project approvals, the general plan designation for the plan area would be changed to mixed use, and the zoning would be changed to mixed use health district. The proposed plan divides the plan area into 3 sub-districts: the Central District, the South Campus, and the East Neighborhood. The Central District is located at the northwest corner of Avenue J8 and 15th Street West and allows for the most density. This is also the sub-district which would contain the new hospital along with the existing Women and Infants Pavilion and City of Hope. The South Campus is located at the southwest corner of Avenue J8 and 15th Street West and encompasses several older commercial developments. The East Neighborhood is located to the east side of 15th Street West. Within each of these districts, the property has been assigned one of 3 zoning designations: District Core, District General, or District Edge. The District Core zone is located in the central portion of the Central District and places an emphasis on medical and office uses. This is the location of the new hospital and other acute and subacute care facilities, and could also include the hotel and conference center, among other uses. The area also allows some residential, commercial, and civic uses. The maximum height within this zone is 6 stories or 75 feet, and the hospital and hotel do not have a height limit. The District General Zone promotes an active mix of residential and retail uses. This zone surrounds the district core and is also located in the South Campus and along the 15th Street West and Avenue J frontages of the East Neighborhood. This zone allows for residential, non-medical office, civic, education, and retail uses. The maximum height is 4 stories or 50 feet. The District Edge Zone provides a buffer between the more intense development west of 15th Street West and the residential uses to the east of the plan area. It is located in the central and eastern portions of the East Neighborhood District and allows for residential uses and some neighborhood-serving commercial. The maximum height in this zone is 3 stories or 30 feet. Some uses are prohibited within the plan area. This includes most industrial uses. However, labs and R&D facilities, along with artisanal production, are allowed in the district core and district general zones. Automotive-related uses, including gas stations, mini-marts, convenience markets, and auto repair facilities, are prohibited. The city will also be installing a street network improvements throughout the plan area as part of a Metro grant. These roadway improvements are shown in bold within the plan area. The lighter streets already exist. These roadway improvements are referred to in the master plan as part of the backbone roadway network. This project will be brought to the March 15th Planning Commission meeting for their recommendation to the City Council with respect to the general plan amendment zone change, master plan, and certification of the final EIR. It is anticipated that the City Council will hear this item at their April 27th and May 11th City Council meetings. Construction of the roadway improvements associated with the Metro Grant is scheduled to occur between March 7th, 2022 and November 10th, 2022. I am available to answer any questions, and also present is Marisa Diaz and Matt Simons, who can answer questions regarding roadways and the Metro Grant.
Thank you. It's unfortunate we don't have a full commission today to
You're on mute, Chairman Bose.
There it goes now, I'm sorry. It's unfortunate we don't have a full commission this evening to review the 260-page document and listen to your presentation tonight, Ms. Swain. Apologize for that, but here we are. I don't know if members have had an opportunity to review the document previously, and if you have any questions or comments you'd like to share this evening, members. I see Ms. Smith has joined us.
I have a question on the J8 thoroughfare. I think we talked about that possibly being under a Metro grant. Am I correct on that?
J8, and Matt will correct me if I'm wrong, but J8 is not part of the Metro Grant. If you look at the previous, Danielle, can you go back to the map with the roadway improvements? It's on one of the last, yeah, that one. You can see there's no improvements really proposed along Avenue J8. There's some connections into J8, and when future development goes in, they would be required to put in any necessary roadways. The Metro Grant is really focused on the portion that where the hospital is and the portion that is on the east side of 15th.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
So we don't have a definitive outline of what the grant covers other than what you've just said?
Marisa, would you be able to answer that?
Sure. Just 1 second. So the portion of Avenue J8, Danielle, if you'll put that picture back up, sorry. There are actually portions of the pavement that are going to be included in the grant on J8, but J8 actually has grant funds from the Avenue J interchange project that are going towards it. It also has our road bond pavement management program project that's doing some of the pavement. And then some of the gap closure is being done by an ATP grant funded project that's called the pedestrian gap closure improvements. So J8 will be taken care of with actually several other grants and other funding that we have for that project. The grant itself for Medical Main Street, in addition to the streets that Jocelyn has outlined, we will be doing pavement improvements on 15th Street West, and then also pavement and median improvements on Avenue J. And then there's overlap on 20th Street West between our Metro grant and then our other Metro grant for the Avenue J interchange project. So we have quite a bit going on in this area in terms of Metro and Caltrans grant funding.
So all of those improvements have been delineated in the draft environmental document that we'll be considering next month?
No, so the only improvements that are part of this EIR were the ones for the Metro grant. The other grants that Marisa has talked about, so like the interchange projects, have their own separate environmental documents that went with them. The gap closures have their own exemptions that went with them. The impacts associated with the construction of these new roadways is included in this.
Thank you. Anyone else care to add anything or comment?
I just had a question as far as the phased approach with so much happening at one time. I mean, I'm obviously a novice when I'm looking at this when it comes to the funding of these different projects. And one would think that any amount of slippage from a schedule perspective impacts the next thing going forward. Do you all feel confident there's enough built in the schedule of the events to occur that you've already made provisions in case of a schedule slip? So let's say Project A had X amount of funding and you slipped into the next phase, that next project. I'm just making up a notional. Do you all think there's enough of a buffer with the way everything's scheduled, since there is so much that's going on at one time? It just seems like a lot in that one area at one time.
I think, Marisa, can you comment on that? I think the timelines are identified on all of those various projects so that they don't impact one another.
That's what I was driving at. If you think there's enough setback, the strategy being enough time built in. Really?
Call from Lancaster City.
Somebody from the city is calling me. Sorry.
Call from Lancaster City.
Let me just shut it up. Anyway, I'm just trying to figure out if there's enough setback built in. Sorry, I'm going to go on mute because somebody from the city is calling me.
Sure, and absolutely. They're all capital CIP projects, and all of the project managers are actually in one office, and we have been coordinating. I mean, feels like month to month, sometimes even week to week. So we've definitely sequenced the work so that we won't be holding each other up, and we do have enough room in order not to impact ourselves. And we have enough time on our grants, each of the different ones, that allows for us to make any adjustments we need to make.
I have a question. I know we've had an issue with permits being given in time. Do we have that allocated also? As far as like getting things, to be able to push forward, almost piggybacking with did I make myself clear?
Commissioner, you keep coming in and out. You're muting yourself.
Am I good now? Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
All right. So basically in the past, like even with like solar and stuff, permits, because if I'm not mistaken, we're getting that from a third party. Am I right, or is that?
Well, it just depends on which permits you're referring to. My division looks at grading and encroachment permits, not building and safety permits. Building and safety permits are for all of the on-site work. And so we're putting in the infrastructure to minimize the encroachment permits they need.
Okay. No, that answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah, the challenge with coordinating all of those various offsite and potentially on-site improvements over a sequence of time, coordinating various grants, and then overlaying that with the inability to construct from the middle of November till the end of December on projects that take longer than 10 months in duration, and impacting weather on top of that, and the success of a bidder, and the award of a contract, and on and on and on. It's a nightmare. That's a technical term, right, Ms. Diaz?
Yes, absolutely. It is a challenge, but we've got this one pretty much under control. I think that we'll be all right. Hopefully I didn't jinx myself.
Yeah, assuming you get contracts you can award.
Yes.
And coordinate them, yeah. Well, since this project, the Lancaster Health District Master Plan and its environmental document will come back to us next month for consideration, there was a couple of things that I had reading through the document, it really questions. the opportunity for various stages of development, particularly residential development. There were, what was it, some 1,300 units within the scope of the master plan. I think it was something like that.
1,600.
1,600, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Single family units, or let's put it that way, family units, not single family, but family units in various density configurations, apartment units and other types of housing, including condominiums. We're not talking about single family detached or single family detached, right?
That is correct.
Okay. So those are all market rate projects, or perceived to be market rate projects?
So this doesn't actually approve any individual project. So somebody could come in with a proposal within the master plan and propose a condominium project, and whether that's market rate or affordable housing would be determined by the individual proposing the specific project. The master plan doesn't prohibit one or the other.
But the commission will not see them, because the way the master plan is structured, Ms. De La Cruz and her crew will actually review those projects once the master plan is approved. Is that correct?
Correct, unless the subdivision is required. And if a subdivision is required, then you would see it.
Yeah, well, we would see the subdivision.
Correct.
We wouldn't see the project per se.
Potentially, you are correct, Chairman Bose.
All right. So our only role then is to review the master plan environmental document, make a recommendation to the city council, and the mapping, when and if it takes place, if the project moves forward, and any potential conditional use permits. However, I'm a little unsure about that as well, since the concept of commercial related development that may require conditional use permits is similar to what, if I read the document correctly, it's perceived to be similar to what is developed on the boulevard. So for instance, if there's a hotel project and they choose to offer adult beverages, we still would see that application, type 70 license application, right? But we wouldn't see the commercial development unless it's a map.
That is correct.
Okay. So our role is very limited, or will be very limited on this project, other than the review that we'll be taking now and next month.
That is also correct.
Okay. So long term, the on-site improvements, infrastructure, and so forth, has the city identified funding other than the proposed planning grant that has been, or the planning funding, I wouldn't call it a grant, but cooperative planning funding that has the city and the healthcare district has entered into? Is that the only funding available at this point?
So most of the development within the plan area would be private development. And so they would be responsible for their own fundings, their own improvements. It would not be something that the city is paying for.
So the backbone infrastructure necessary to support the master plan, there's no municipal structure in place or thought or even contemplated then. It's all private sector.
That is my understanding.
Okay, thank you. I noticed on just scanning through some of these things, I noticed on page 2-5 on a portion of the writing, and I can't pull it up with the screens that we have here. It identified a cross street, or the southern boundary, I should say, of the project at K12, and I think that's just it's a typo. It should be J12, I think.
Oh, yes, I believe you are correct. You are correct.
I think it was just a typo.
It is a typo.
And I'm sure there's, there's
I'm sure there's
more.
others also.
Yeah, there's probably more. On 2.6, where it identifies the various associated medical type facilities around the hospital district, around this master plan area, I guess we'd call it. There's a number 3, which are medical offices and clinics on that exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
However, they appear to be east of 15th Street, north of Avenue J. It's my recollection that most of those are west of 15th on the north side and south side of J, and continue north. So it may just be when they did the overlay on the map, they put the 3s in the wrong place, maybe.
I'll double check it.
And on 2-18, what's a plan avenue? I think it's in the.
Oh, okay. I'll double check. Center of the plan.
Maybe it's just a duplication. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to double check that one.
Yeah, it's weird. So I read somewhere as well that an analysis was done on the likelihood of early development, I should say, or the ability to develop multifamily units now at a range of 220 to 380 units.
Mm-hmm.
Is the depth of the potential market now. Did I read that right?
So that actually comes out of a report that was done when the master plan was being started back in 2016. We don't have any updated numbers since then. And the developers coming in would have to determine whether it was feasible or not feasible. They did a similar analysis for office space and medical offices within the plan area. They also kind of put a footnote on that with the new hospital and some of the other medical subacute and acute care facilities going in, that the demand for medical offices and residences would probably increase.
So that begs the question of the marketability and impacts on the existing medical facilities buildings that may or may not be owned by the physicians and other agencies or entities, I should say, that own those facilities. What impacts, if any, have been analyzed to those particular properties? We've seen in the past, and it's just an observation, we've seen in the past as development takes place, the development cycles, we end up, how shall I describe it, borrowing tenancy from one location to another. The gross square footage doesn't change, but the tendencies move, which impacts owners of older facilities, which in effect create vacancies. We've seen that in retail commercial throughout the community, it's just the nature of development. So has there been any consideration or any discussion of that in the development of this plan?
Within the master plan, no, there is no discussion of that. I don't know if discussions have taken place elsewhere.
All right, thank you.
Chairman Vos, I would like to add too a little bit of background. This project began in 2000 and I believe late 2014.
2014.
Yeah, so it's been many years in the making. Conversations have taken place. Between folks that don't even work for the city anymore. So it's evolved quite a bit, and there's a couple of components to the project, if you will. We're focusing on the master plan and the EIR, and a lot of the programming for it has occurred outside of this group. It's a whole separate group of our colleagues that have been dealing with a lot of these pieces of the programming and a lot of the questions that you raise. Unfortunately, we have not been part of those discussions. Our task has been to focus on the master plan and getting that moving, because it has been probably one of the longest master plans in the history of master plans. So, we're pretty excited. We're on. The consultants that had originally prepared this document are no longer providing the service to us. You may recall, some of you may recall that this project began with David Sargent and Associates, and they are no longer part of this team. So we took the work that they did and just really built off of that. So we're pretty excited that we've gotten this far. And that we're right at that finish line, and we're almost there. But unfortunately, a lot of these, like I said, these pieces that have come up, we just have not been part of those conversations.
Well, I appreciate what you said, and it, you're talking about somewhere between 6 and 8 years of effort, a lot of starting and stopping and internal processes, including the political realities of how things happen in the community. It concerns me that our role, our portion of oversight and the professional planners in your shop, I don't see a lot of fingerprints on it. And my concern when I look at the various elements, for instance, the depth of lots relative to, quote, big box commercial. That's the way the land happens to lay today. I don't necessarily think that a big, quote, big box development would fit in that site as is identified on the plan. However, others may think so. You got to put labels on everything. I understand that. The proposed commercial aspects of the southwest corner of JN15, frankly, seems oversized for the needs of the community. Even at 1,600 unit build out, that's only 35,000 people. Now, if you take all of the transportation elements that have been suggested here, for instance, one parking space for each dwelling unit, if I read that right, to encourage people to bike ride and walk and so forth. Maybe it'll turn into something very positive. I would hope so, but it seems like it's rather generous on the designations that are, quote, not necessarily medical related or those support services. And the other thing is, besides the hospital district, the ownership structure of the majority of the remainder of the properties within this master plan area privately held by all sorts of different entities, right?
There are a variety of property owners within the plan area.
Quite a few. And it's what, roughly a third to a half of the acreage?
Yeah, but a lot of the property owners own more than one parcel, and they own some larger parcels also.
Right. So when you said it's private development that is encouraged, that will be bringing projects forward, you include in that the hospital is, quote, a private entity, if you will.
Correct. And then the hospital has their own project that they're moving forward with, the redevelopment of the new hospital. That is something that is not approved by the city. That gets approved by OSHPD.
Right. The successor agency, however, owns a portion of land on the east side of 15th at roughly J3.
Correct.
That we've seen and approved, I think, previously, right?
Correct. We approved it. It expires in March, and they can't find anyone to build it as currently envisioned by the previous housing director. So they are letting it expire, and it will fall under the provisions of this plan.
Okay, thank you. So getting back to the analysis of future potential need within the master plan area for the various elements, the medical components, if you will. Do I understand correctly that there have not been any recent analysis done and studies done in support of what's defined in the master plan for those types of square footages?
Not that the city is in possession of.
Say that again, please.
Not that the city is in possession of. I don't know if other entities have done studies, but it's not something that's been incorporated into this plan.
So how do you do a plan and define the elements that have been defined without doing an analysis of the depth of the potential marketplace?
We've been working closely with our colleagues in economic development, Chairman Bose, who are pretty confident that what is identified is really what's being driven by the market. My counterpart, Shannon Dow, has been in communications with various stakeholders, various developers about what this area could look like. There's other developments that are outside of the state that are very similar in nature that she has connected with in identifying what the appropriate uses and mixture of uses and square footages would work like. So unfortunately, she couldn't make this meeting, but she's been pretty integral into the process of the master plan. And her predecessors, that again, individuals that are no longer with the city, that have kind of served as mentors and colleagues that she still is in very much communication with. So we're pretty confident that what's identified is what is actually needed.
What about the backbone infrastructure in the surrounding principal streets, the 20th, the J, the J8, the 15th, water mains, sewer lines, existing capacities? Edison is a principal one that we found out the hard way with approving a whole lot of medical marijuana projects, that here we are with how many on the books and what's been built because of the lack of infrastructure. So has someone put that together, that information together in support of this plan?
Well, as you know, the master plan is laying out the vision. As we start to see the developments themselves come online, then we will continue to plan for that. This will all be driven by demand. We're laying out the foundation for it. The EIR, analyzes a lot of those items you discussed. Water, for example, it'll be on the developer to confirm that there's enough and adequate water capacity. We're simply identifying just the groundwork and the foundation for this.
Well, I guess,
Chairman,
let me suggest a concern. If you have multiple grants for street improvements, curb, gutter, sidewalk, basin paving, whatever those infrastructure relative to streets, and then a year later we come in and rip it up and put in 24-inch sewer mains because the 16-inch that's in the ground doesn't work, that's a concern to me. So that's all I'm asking. What analysis, if any, has been done? I mean, if you're proposing many thousands of square feet of multiple types of development, have we done an adequate analysis of the need for basic underground infrastructure to support that? Does it exist now, or do we even know?
I think Marisa, did you have a comment?
Yeah, with regard to drainage and sewer, because those are facilities that we operate and maintain with our local sewer system and our local storm drain system, we are evaluating that as part of the design with the grant project. And so we will be looking at what mainline we'll need for both storm drain and sewer, and we'll be installing that with the street, curb, gutter, and sidewalk improvements. In terms of water, as Larissa mentioned, that'll be on the developer as they come in. And so because I don't think that aside from the hospital who we are coordinating with, as they relocate their facility, and because we are going through areas of their property that's currently not dedicated, we'll be working with them to get their infrastructure relocated and then get ours installed in support of that. But other than that, it'll be piece by piece as things come online.
also, I want to add to that, the amount of electricity, natural gas, water, sewer was all analyzed in the EIR. The draft EIR was sent to all of the entities that manage that. So it went to the sanitation district, it went to Edison, it went to the water district. The only entity that commented back was the sanitation district to update their numbers.
Okay, and we've been down this road before with those entities, and when they don't respond, and then we get projects that everybody gets hot about, and they get approved, and then lo and behold, Edison pops up and says, gee whiz, we can't provide power to support your project, even though you did give us an environmental document, which we basically ignored or whatever. And then projects sit or don't get developed at all. So it's obvious we can't control those entities. But what we can do is do adequate analysis of backbone infrastructure to support a master plan, to know if in fact it is supportable. It just seems to me like it's an element that has potentially not been addressed. Maybe it has been, but I don't see it. Anything else from anyone before we move on? No? Okay. I see a lot of folks here. Maybe we have comments from the public. Ms. Winter?
At this time, the public phone lines are now open for those wishing to speak. Any callers wanting to comment, please press *6 now, state your name, and then wait until you are called upon. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Doesn't look like we have any speakers.
Okay. So we have no public comments then. All right then. Thank you, Ms. Swain, for the presentation this evening and answering all of our questions. Ms. Taylor, Ms. Diaz, thank you. All right then. So the next item is director's announcements, or I should say, I'm going to call you a director. You're not. Planning manager. Community development manager.
Community development. No major updates for this evening, just similar to what we did this month, where we're only having one meeting when the agendas are light. You will continue to see that. Our agendas are still fairly light for the next couple of months, so don't be surprised if you see a cancellation for one of the dates. We have quite a few projects in the pipeline that'll probably pick up in the summertime and into the fall, but for now we should probably be having only one meeting as we enter into the early spring. So that's all we have.
All right, very good. Any members of the commission care to offer anything? And Ms. Winter, you saw that Commissioner Tuss joined us as well?
Yes, I see him.
Okay, good. All right then. So if there's nothing else from anyone, we stand adjourned till what, March 15th at 5 p.m. And I'm assuming will still be a Zoom meeting, right?
It's actually March 8th.
March 8th would be the special meeting, and then the 15th is the regular meeting. But as Larissa said, we'll let you know which one we'll have the meeting on.
Okay, so we're going to adjourn to the special meeting on March 8th at 4:30, even though the display said March 15th at 5 o'clock for consideration of the recommendation on this previous matter in the EIR.
That's tentative in the event that if we have more items that come up for the agenda, for that agenda, then we'll have to have an agenda review as well as the regular meeting on the 15th. In the event our agenda stays light, then we will adjourn to the 15th. But for now, because we typically adjourn to, it's complicated, I know, overly complicated. For now, we adjourn to the 8th, the timeline.
So for the record, what I meant, Ms. Winter, is the other commissioners probably did what I normally do a lot of times. You have to spoon feed me and like drag me along the way. I just assumed that they thought 5 o'clock because that was what I initially thought, but I went back and realized that you contacted us and told us otherwise. So just want to clear that up. So.
Yeah, I do my best to text and to email.
Oh, trust me, you take care of us. Trust me, you get us here.
So I'll be sure to do the same thing for the next meeting.
Great.
All right, so we will adjourn then to the special meeting, March, whatever it is, 8th at 4:30 p.m.
Correct.
And from that point forward, we definitely will meet on March 15th at 5 p.m., no matter what.
Most likely. If anything changes, Danielle and or myself will make sure to let you know.
Well done.
Nice to meet all you folks. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And
Thank you.
We'll catch you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.